2021-03, an ordinance regarding amending Chapter 6 of the Salida Municipal Code by the addition of a new Article 7 concerning offenses, raising the minimum age to purchase or consume tobacco to 21 years, second reading and public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet, you have a memo from staff with regard to this particular ordinance. As noted in there, we began these conversations in August, and in September had those public meetings, both at a work session as well as at an intergovernmental meeting with other municipalities and governments in Chaffee County. Subsequent to that, the city clerk's office, along with the city attorney's office, worked to develop the ordinance that you see before you this evening. And that ordinance does contain kind of three main components. One is to establish the age limit for purchase, possession, or consumption to be 21 years of age. That's very similar to the recent changes in federal law, but our particular part of the code really does address 18-year-olds in there, so it's really to clean up the language to mimic federal law. The second would be to require a license to sell tobacco products in the city of Salida. And the third would be prohibition on the sale of any flavored tobacco product. In the subsequent 2 weeks from first reading to now, we've certainly received a lot of feedback. I know that you've had outreach from both industry side as well as public health officials, so I certainly don't want to comment on their behalf, but we've received a lot of feedback to that effect. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. At this point, staff does recommend approval of the ordinance, and like I said, be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I know I should have asked that question earlier to our lawyer, but just clarification. When I read the ordinance, it sounded to me like we are prohibiting the flavored tobacco for vaping, for electronic devices. But then a lot of the comments criticize that we are prohibiting all flavored tobacco. Just clarification, please.
Just want to find the right section here. I apologize for the delay. I just, again, want to find the right section in your packet. Yeah. So on page 46 of your packet, under section 6-7-20, subsection C, it does talk about flavored tobacco products, and that flavored tobacco products is defined elsewhere in the ordinance, which does include anything with flavoring in it. Thank you.
Anything else you need to ask? Yeah.
Is there any further discussion about what the licensing fee will be?
We've not determined what that fee structure looks like just yet. Obviously, any fee that we would impose on this, there needs to be a justification for that fee in terms of the amount of time spent to process that. Since we don't have any sort of idea of how much time it will take to process an application, we don't have a recommendation on that fee at this time. But I would offer that should you want to set that fee at something nominal to begin while we analyze however long it takes to process those, that would make some sense. I can't imagine that these licenses, since they don't necessarily come to the council or actually go through the clerk's office, that there would be a tremendous amount of time spent on them.
Quick question to follow up on that. With the fee in establishing a reasonable basis based on the time that went into it, is my understanding correct that because it's done that way, it's not viewed as a tax? If it was something above and beyond that, then it would be looked at as a tax and could potentially be a violation under Tabor. Is that how it works? Or?
So it really depends on how you analyze it. If you create a rational nexus that establishes the cost of doing this business with the amount of time spent, then that would not be in violation of Tabor.
Okay, thank you.
What is it that gives us the authority to regulate tobacco? I understand that it's federal law?
It's actually there was a state law passed just this last year, with regard to regulating tobacco products in the state of Colorado.
We get a tobacco sales tax rebate from the state, right?
That's correct.
And where does that money go at this time?
It is in the general fund. It's about $20,000 annually is what the state share back is of that, and it does go into our general fund.
Anything else? Right now? All right, well, I think it'd be good to hear from the public. So we'll go right into the public hearing, open that, and we'll start with Liz. I know I've butchered this one before, so.
Liz Salida. I live at 554 Park Lane in Buena Vista, but I am employed by the county for Family and Youth Initiatives. On behalf of the Chaffey County Youth Alliance, which is a coalition made up of community members, parents, and youth, we are committed to preventing unhealthy youth behavior across Chaffey County. So we are in full support of Salida City Council considering this ordinance. Requiring a tobacco retail license is the right thing to do. It simply requires that retailers do their part to keep products away from youth. In the Healthy Kids Colorado survey that was taken in 2017, we're still waiting on 2019 data, 53% of Chaffey County high school students under 18 who used cigarettes and other tobacco products, they said they got them from tobacco retailers. So we know that they're able to get them, even when they're under 18 and they're going in themselves. Studies show that youth who live in places with a strong tobacco retailer license are far less likely to start smoking or vaping. You guys have heard some of the other Healthy Kids data before, but our numbers of 30-day rates of vaping and tobacco use are far higher than regional, state, and national averages. So we have a real struggle with that in Chaffey County. Reiterating the federal law that raises the age to 21 ensures that tobacco products stay out of schools for good. And we've just heard anecdotally that's already helping. So we're really supportive of including that in the ordinance and making that official. I know that the most contentious part of this is the flavor ban, and that there's a lot of impact there. I will just say that we know tobacco companies purposely target youth with appealing messaging and flavors so that they'll become lifelong customers. We know for a fact that youth start vaping because of flavors, which despite the federal flavor ban will still be available in menthol pods and all flavors of e-cigarette juice. Colorado is one of only 12 states that doesn't require these licenses, and Chaffey County was ranked one of the healthiest counties in the country. So we would just ask that we would have our policies reflect that and keep us healthy. Thank you to the council for considering this ordinance and just putting yourselves out there.
Cassie Strom? And I'm gonna apologize because I'm gonna butcher most of the names on this list tonight, so I apologize. Anything else?
Hi, I'm Cassie Stouch. I also work with the Family and Youth Initiatives. I work in particularly with the youth in our county who get in trouble with substances. The majority of the students I see are in trouble because they're caught vaping. I teach the youth the harms of vaping, yet it's often too late because they're already addicted to the nicotine. The commonly used Juul pods are salt-based, delivering the nicotine to the brain even faster than cigarettes, speeding up that rate of addiction. The flavors, according to the youth, are definitely enticing, and many of them report they would not have started if there were not flavors. I feel like we need to do something with the new federal change in the law to 21. I think it's important to educate our retailers on fake IDs, different loopholes that youth are using to get the substance or to get the these products. Thank you.
Sydney Johnson.
Hi, I'm Sydney Johnson, and I'm a Salida High School senior. And my main concern about flavored vapes is that the flavoring makes the substance easier to use, and more importantly, makes it easier to use too much of it. Right, when something when it doesn't taste like a cigarette, it's easy to think that it's wildly different from a cigarette, when there are differences, but they're also similar. Just like an alcohol that is sweet can be easy to accidentally drink too much, intoxicated on. A flavored vape, I have a concern. I can't speak from a whole lot of education or experience on this, but I feel like my concern is that a flavored vape could be easier to use more of than you even planned on. And although the flavored vapes can be a good thing for people looking to quit smoking, which is very admirable, I think that it can also look like a marketing tactic used to target middle schoolers and high schoolers. And I ideally would suggest that if vapes are going to continuously be sold, that the flavoring aspect be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Damon Kerrigan.
Hello, I'm Damon Kerrigan. I go to Salida High School as well. I support the requirement of licenses for selling tobacco products, as well as making the age to purchase them 21, because many of my classmates and people my age are able to get their hands on it very easily, and I feel this would drastically help with the ease at which they're getting them. And I know many of my peers who get them taken away or get in trouble for it are just able to get them again. And I feel like a big way that they're able to get it or purchase it is sometimes they can just go in and get it, or they have friends who graduate high school, or like people who are older than them who are able to go and get it for them and sell it to them. And I believe that this would help alleviate that problem greatly. Thank you.
Rebecca Rice.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Rice, and I'm glad to work with JP County Public Health. Thank you very much to council and to city staff thus far for your efforts on this, since Sonia invited us back in August to come talk with you about the harms of vaping and what we could do locally. Since then, we've been invited by numerous groups here, parents, schools, other organizations and local government, to provide education and awareness about vaping. And what we continue to hear is what can be done locally. So clearly we agree this vaping epidemic seems out of control, but what we can control is passing this local ordinance to help send a message that our community is serious about protecting our youth from purchasing tobacco products. Many other Colorado communities, I know you guys know this, currently are implementing these type of ordinances, and it's a common sense approach, an appropriate role for local government to pass this licensing of tobacco retailers, to have an immediate impact on things like giving retailers clear expectations, trying to reduce illegal sales, funding the inspections, and giving that local control to our law enforcement. But licensing will also help level the playing field for businesses who already comply with the law, and we have many responsible retailers here. The annual tobacco licensing fee, however it's going to be set, will be minimal compared to the revenue that retailers make by selling the tobacco products. The next component that we also need included in a strong local tobacco ordinance is raising the minimum age to 21. And by passing that local policy now, that's consistent with the changing federal laws, we'll have that local enforcement be easier and more effective, and will provide clarity for responsible retailers who want to follow that law. And we have the support on these from our local law enforcement, and we are certainly pro-business in these. Lastly, I'm asking council to take action to help reduce the harms of this deadly product by keeping the full flavor ban in the ordinance. Thank you.
Andrea Carlstrom.
My name is Andrea Carlstrom. I'm the director of Chaffee County Public Health. Thank you for your consideration of this ordinance, which will foster greater accountability and responsibility of tobacco purchasing and consumption in Salida. Sometimes the right thing to do is not the popular thing. I experience that on a regular basis in public health. But nonetheless, it's imperative that our community's leaders prioritize the health of its citizens, especially our youth, over business and economic drivers. This ordinance, written collaboratively by the city in partnership with public health, is part of a comprehensive approach to tobacco prevention. It's part of the solution. It is not the only solution. And we intend on exploring evidence-based solutions and really looking at other communities like ours who've been successful in ordinances and tobacco prevention strategies such as this. Again, we're urging you to do the right thing, even though it might be the hard thing. In 2016, the tobacco industry spent over $9.5 billion in its marketing strategies. So overturning this monopoly, it's not going to be easy. We know that we have a long road ahead. But we all have a role in this epidemic and looking at local strategies to solve it. Together, we must take a comprehensive approach to protecting our community and its health from the predatory practices of the tobacco industry, and public policy is a proven key strategy in this. Thank you so much for your consideration of this ordinance. We know it's the right thing to do, so thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Reynolds.
Hi, I'm Victoria Reynolds. I am the chairman of the Libertarian Party of Colorado, representing over 46,000 voters across the state, and also an ex-smoker and a mom. December 5th, 1933, Prohibition was repealed. I'd like to ask, if Eve didn't obey God with Prohibition, what makes you think that I'm gonna follow Prohibition now? 5 years ago, I quit smoking using flavored vape pens. Flavored blueberry flavor, because it was the only flavor that I could stand. I used to smoke a pack a day of Marlboro Reds 100s. And the only thing that actually helped me quit smoking was vaping, was the e-cigarettes. I used that for about 6 months. And then the day that my husband died, I put those down as well. I have not smoked since May the 4th, 2014. I have not vaped since then either. I believe that banning flavors is not going to work. All you do by banning flavors is have the people go elsewhere to get them. It opens the door to the black market. I wrote down a few things to consider, if you may. Will a blanket ban on flavored tobacco products cause an immediate illicit market? What would a city ban mean for our neighboring cities and outside the county? What are the unintended consequences of an illicit market for flavored tobacco products and menthol cigarettes? Are flavored vape products the cause of the rise in teen vaping, or are there other factors such as high potency nicotine pods, which by the way, have already been banned by the federal government? The Juul pods are banned. Similar to the current and historic decline of cigarette smoking, will vaping also decline due to aggressive public education as opposed to criminalization and prohibition? What are the penalties for the proposed crime of minor in possession of tobacco? What products, retailers, and manufacturers are actually at fault for the recent vaping illnesses? Are those implicated in the recent vaping illnesses regulated tobacco products or unregulated online suppliers? Is our goal to create a black market that would be more dangerous? Will a blanket ban on these products send consumers online where the products are unregulated and untested and likely to cause a lot more illnesses than the ones that are regulated and tested? Thank you.
Art Way. It's not a concert.
Good evening, council. My name is Art Ray. I am the owner and principal of Equitable Consulting. I come to you with 15 years of social justice experience and recently 8 years of drug policy reform experience. From an ideological and practical perspective as a drug policy reformer, we know that bans and blanket prohibitions simply don't work. In this situation, what you will immediately do is send people online where the regulation and the health concerns are even higher. You will send people out on the highways to other jurisdictions, to Buena Vista and to other cities within Chaffee County and potentially other counties. And to do so in inclement weather, I think would be a problem. And you would immediately create an illicit market here within Chaffee County. I specifically want to speak about menthol cigarettes. I got involved in this issue with the death of Eric Garner in New York. He was killed by police simply due to the fact that he was selling Lucy cigarettes due to the taxes in New York were so high. Menthol is a highly popular substance among black folks, among white folks, among Latino folks, and traditionally it is an adult use flavor. I don't believe menthol in and of itself and mint are the reasons behind the vaping epidemic for youth. And so I think when you talk about menthol cigarettes, if you ban menthol cigarettes, you are definitely creating an immediate black market here within Chaffee County. Advocates of such bans talk about a Ontario study in Canada where they banned certain flavors. And the best thing that came out of that was 20% of the people in that jurisdiction decided that they would try to quit. Not that they actually quit, but that they would just try. But what is really most unfortunate about that study is 40% of the people started to look for alternative flavor products. And these are the products that are dangerous. These are the products that we need to worry about. So the one study that actually talks about bans, I think is a mixed bag and actually supports the fact that we should not ban. Your police will be involved in this issue one way or another. I think we need to figure out what will be the criminal penalties for youth in regards to possession of tobacco if this passes. I don't think we need to start criminalizing our kids simply because they're possessing tobacco. I do agree that 21 and up is the proper age limit. I do agree that you need some licensing restrictions. But the primary question from a public health perspective is, will a ban achieve what aggressive public education will achieve? I don't think it will. I think a ban will create other problems. The use of tobacco has declined over years. It's a dying industry for the most part. I think if you try to hit them with a knockout blow with this type of ban, you're simply going to create other problems. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Maureen Desjardins.
Something like that.
Hello, Councilman. My name is Maureen Desjardins. I am the marketing director for Ultra Convenience Stores. Our business operates 3 Ultra Convenience gas station stores in Salida, and I'm writing both with part support and part strong opposition to some of the issues you'll consider. On behalf of my 3 Salida businesses and my 16 affected employees, it is my hope that you consider